everyone. I'll give everybody a few minutes to hop on. I broke my tripod that holds my camera the other day, so now I'm kind of like propping my phone up with a coffee mug. It's all good. I'll have to go out and buy another. So today's topic is nighttime binging / nighttime eating. And I wanted to include both because I do think that a lot of times when we're just snacking in the evening, we consider that to be like the absolute failure. And sometimes it's hard to decipher between whether or not we're actually binging or if we're just snacking. Now, the reason why most evening snacking happens is because we are restricting in some way, whether it actually be physically restricting food or if we're mentally restricting. So if you're constantly finding yourself in your pantry in the evening after you've had dinner, I really want you to ask yourself, okay, like, how do I eat during the day then? Because the most common phrase that I hear is, I do so well during the day, but at night, it's like something takes over me and I'm powerless. So I want you to assess what doing well means to you, because usually this means that we're restricting in some way, whether it be eliminating certain food groups or micromanaging our portion sizes. And we've all seen these memes where we have our egg whites in the morning, a smoothie for lunch, and then a salad, and then 3 tubs of ice cream and all the chocolate and chips. So I really want you to get clear on what you're doing during the day. We put so much focus on the eating at night, what we're eating, how much, and we really don't take into account what we've eaten up until that point. So a lot of times this binging occurs because you've restricted yourself in some way, whether it be mental restriction or actually restricting food during the day leading up until this point. And a really good indication as to whether or not you're in that category is if the foods that you eat in the evening are different than what you eat during the day. Because a lot of times when we end up engaging in binge eating or eating in the evening, we are usually eating things that we have denied ourselves all day or all week. One of the most common triggers with clients is as soon as they put their kids to bed, they basically rush to the pantry to eat all of the things that they didn't allow themselves to have leading up until the day. And a lot of times it's because they don't want to actually share with their kids, or they don't want their kids eating that stuff. So as soon as they tuck their kids into bed, that is their first break of the day. It's their first chance to have me time. And so a good way to figure out whether or not you are depriving yourself during the day is if as soon as that trigger or that switch goes off, you're reaching for foods that you didn't allow yourself in the morning or at lunch or in the afternoon. And so now you're eating all of like the snacky things like chips, chocolate, ice cream, popcorn. Whereas during the day, you probably didn't eat any of those things. And a lot of times when we're engaging in this type of eating in the morning or in the evening, we are being really sneaky about it. So you tuck the kids into bed and you go and sneak to your pantry and you're like opening the bag of chips really slowly and quietly, but then you're eating as fast as you can. You're almost acting as if you stole the food from a store because you don't want to get caught eating it. Another really common trigger that I have for clients is a lot of times emotional eating and binging is done in secret because there's a lot of shame wrapped around binge eating or emotional eating. So as soon as the husband leaves for work, if you are a stay-at-home mom, that is like almost like a permission slip to sneak to the pantry and get your fill on what you were too embarrassed to eat in front of your partner. And so this happens a lot in the evening. So one of the reasons you could be binging at night or constantly snacking, even though you're not physically hungry, is because you've been depriving yourself during the day. So what I really encourage you to do, if you notice that the foods that you eat in the evening are different than what you eat during the day, start figuring out how you can implement those foods that you eat in the evening into your day. So have popcorn at 1 p.m. Have a chocolate bar at lunch. You don't have to wait and hold out until the evening to have something like that. If you let yourself have it now, the allure in the evening kind of dies off and you don't feel completely powerless around those foods in the evening. If you're in that camp that you're restricting somehow during the day and trying to be so good during the morning and afternoon. Another reason why you might be eating in the evening is because maybe you're just bored. A lot of us, especially if we work a 9 to 5, that's really mentally draining. When we get home, we quickly eat supper and then we plop down on the couch because we have no energy left, nothing to give to the world. So when you're sat in front of the TV, it's almost second nature to grab a snack and sit on the couch with a snack, even though you're not actually hungry. And there's nothing wrong with eating in the evening or having a snack, but if you're finding that you're constantly doing it when you're not hungry, you're probably bored. And so you might need to find another hobby outside of sitting in front of the TV. And I know that when we do have a job that's just takes a lot out of us and is just draining, sometimes we just don't want to do anything. But the problem with that is if we save activities just for Saturday and Sunday, we are literally missing out on 25 days of our lives out of a month. That is a huge chunk of time that we are missing out on our lives because we're just like putting in our time for our 9 to 5. And even though it can feel almost impossible to engage in any type of hobby after working a long shift or having a shitty day at work, sometimes the best thing for your energy levels and your mental health is going for a walk, is going for, and you don't have to walk alone. You can get a friend to come walk with you. And it might be the last thing that you want to do because you're so tired. But when you engage in activities like that after a really shitty work day, it raises your vibration so that you actually have more energy in the evening and you feel better. Going to a spin class or a yoga class, and it doesn't even have to be like a physical activity. It can be doing a puzzle, taking your kids to the park in the evening on a Monday. Instead of saving those fun activities for Saturday and Sunday, take your kids to the park after supper for an hour. Go for a family bike ride, do a puzzle, color in an adult coloring book. There's several reasons why we eat during the evening, restriction being the main one, but boredom is a huge one, especially in the winter. So try to, even if you're tired, still do some type of activity if you find that when you're bored, you're constantly going to your pantry. And it's totally okay to eat when you're not hungry every once in a while, but if you're finding that it's actually taking away from your quality of life and you're really not feeling good, it's probably something that you want to work towards to change. And then another reason why we eat in the night can be we're eating our feelings. And generally you can eat emotionally with high vibe emotions too. Like, if you're celebrating, maybe you're eating a meal and you're not even hungry, but it's somebody's birthday party. So you're celebrating and that's awesome. But most of us eat emotionally when we're experiencing some of the emotions that we associate as like negative, whether that be, you're feeling anxious, sad, depressed, lonely. And if you find that you're constantly using food to soothe those negative emotions, again, there's nothing wrong with that, but when we are constantly suppressing them, they just persist. And when we don't sit in the suck and feel it and let those emotions move through us, that's when we start to have chronic health conditions such as IBS, acid reflux, chest tightness, jaw tightness, headaches, neck pain, body pain, and chronic fatigue. Like, how many of us have had the worst day at work and we just want to go home and cry, but you're going home to a partner who wants to know about your day and you don't want to burden him. You have kids that you feel you have to be strong for. But if you just had that good cry or just hopped in your car after work and let out a couple really good screams at the top of your lungs and pretend that you were screaming at that asshole coworker, you would be able to literally move on with your life, because it only takes the body 90 seconds to process an emotion, and then it's gone and it's released. But we very rarely sit in the suck and feel the thing. We hang on to it and harbor it, and then it creates a whole bunch of other health issues. So those are the three main reasons that people tend to constantly be going in and out of their pantry in the evening. Restriction, whether it be physical or mentally. So take note of what you eat in the evening when you're snacking versus what you ate during the day up until that point. And figuring out how can you take those snacky fun foods that you've been hoarding for the evenings and sprinkle them throughout your entire week at any time of the day. Because then a food like that will lose its charge and its power over you, because you know that you can have, a bag of chips at lunch if you wanted, or having that chocolate bar in the afternoon at work, instead of thinking about what you're going to eat at 7 o'clock after supper. You're going to store that. You're going to think about that chocolate bar all day at work until you allow yourself to have it at 7 or 8 o'clock. So really start sprinkling in those foods, because when we are satisfied, we tend to eat less, because most of the time when we're dieting, we're eating foods that aren't satisfying or fulfilling. So even though we're physically full because our stomach is full of food, we're not satisfied, so we're always seeking out other things. So sprinkle that satisfaction into your day at any time of day, any day of the week. Stop saving and hoarding those fun things just for the evening or just for Saturday or Sunday. You can have a lunch date on a Monday or Tuesday. It does not have to be a Friday or a Saturday thing. Go out and do the things all days of the week, because you only get one go around on this earth, so make it fucking worth it. And then again, another reason why we eat at night is boredom. So if you're finding that you're constantly reaching for food because you're just tapped out for energy at the end of the day and you're bored, get a hobby. And that can be any type of hobby. You can call up a friend, go for a walk, partner up and go for a walk. You can take your kids to the park. You can start to learn how to crochet, or maybe finally do that self-development course that you've always wanted to take but just never seem to have time for. Take the art class. The more hobbies we have, the happier we are. We weren't meant to be in the same routine day in and day out, just going through the motions of life. Life was meant to be experienced. So seek out those opportunities. There are tons of things to do, even if you live in a small town. You just sometimes have to get creative. And a lot of times, these activities can be done for free. It costs nothing for you to take your kids to the park and go down the slide with them. And another reason, again, that we eat in the evening is because we are using food sometimes to cope with negative emotions. So sit in the suck and feel your feelings. I know it's one of the most terrifying things that we can do as a human, because it's in our nature to avoid any type of discomfort, but your body will never ever give you more than what you can handle. And once you let those emotions move through you, you can then move on with your day feeling lighter and just more expansive, and you're gonna have more energy to do the things that you want to do after work on a Wednesday instead of feeling completely tapped dry. So I hope that was helpful. Make sure as you're moving through the week, even if you're snacking in the evening, take note of what you eat during the day and compare it to what you're consuming at night. And sprinkle in that freaking joy. You deserve to have chocolate at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday. It doesn't matter what time it is. And again, this isn't to shame anybody that snacks at night. There is nothing wrong with snacking at night. The only reason that you might feel that there is because diet culture has taught us that basically if we eat past 6 o'clock, we're like the ultimate failure because we're weak and, we don't have enough willpower. But that is absolutely not true. Your body is not storing what you ate at 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m. as fat. Your body doesn't even know what time it is. So we really need to drop some of them food rules that dieting has taught us over the years. There's absolutely nothing wrong with snacking at night. But again, if you feel that you are leaning more into binging at night and it's creating an unhealthy relationship with food, that's when we need to dive a little deeper and do some investigating and figure out why exactly are we doing this. And it can be super tempting to just hire a coach and get put on a meal plan. But the thing is, a meal plan doesn't actually address why we're doing these things. We can follow the meal plan and change our behaviors temporarily, but what always happens is we eventually stop following that plan and revert back to our old behaviors and then gain all of our weight back. And sometimes being in that place of restriction on a meal plan actually makes those behaviors that we had prior even worse. So then we start eating even more and having even more disordered types of behaviors around food. So again, a meal plan basically just masks the symptoms and doesn't address the cause. So really get curious. Do not judge yourself for snacking at night. We all do this. And again, it's human nature. And do not let diet culture make you feel like there's something wrong with you for snacking at night. There's absolutely nothing wrong at all. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments, even if you're just catching the replay, because I always come back to these and I answer everything. And even if you've had an aha moment or you've discovered that the food that you eat and the way you eat it in the evening is much different than your day leading up, I would love to hear that. Please share it with me, because this is literally the most common thing that I hear from clients is I do so well during the day and then things just really seem to unravel and fall apart at night. So make sure you leave a comment. Let me know if you're watching the replay. Ask the questions. That is why these lives are here, for me to help you. So get the most out of it. Ask all the questions. You're not being annoying. You're not being an inconvenience. This is what I was put on this earth to do. So ask, ask, ask. Because if you don't ask, you're never going to know the answer. It's always going to be no. So please just reach out. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful Wednesday. And let me know what you got out of this video. And thank you for spending your hump day evening with me.